So hi, my name is Greta, and I am a teaching artist and evaluator with Spotlight Education, coming to you from Theater La Hamadou in Alexandria. So when you go to an audition, how do you pick your monologue? And what happens if they want you to read from a side? Are they going to have you do a cold read? These are all really great questions. So a monologue is something that you choose that's going to represent who you are. And that's always a really tricky thing, is how do I find the perfect monologue? There isn't necessarily a perfect monologue. You just want to find a monologue that fits you, that you can do well. So one way that I encourage people to look for monologues is to think, if I was going to be played in a movie, if somebody was going to play me, what actor or actress would play me in the movie? And then go and find roles that they've done and pick monologues from shows that they've been in. That's a really great way to sort of find a monologue, or dream roles that you might have. But the important thing is that you pick a monologue that suits you and who you are. If I were to go in and do a monologue for like a 20-something-year-old character, I know you can't believe it, but I'm not 20-something, and so that would sort of be a disconnect. So the important thing is know yourself, know what they see when they look at you, and find a monologue that represents who you are, because they want to see how you act. They don't want to be confused about why that woman, why Greta thinks that she could be a 20-year-old ingenue, unless, of course, it was a comedy piece. So find a monologue that suits you. Now, sometimes you'll go in and they're going to have you read from the script, and they'll provide you with a side. And what that means is that's a couple pages from the show. They might provide those ahead of time. Either they'll make those downloadable on a website, or they'll email them to you, and that is something that you can prepare ahead of time, and they'll have you go in and read during the audition. They might have you read with somebody called a reader, and that's going to be somebody who the theater has brought in, and they just sit at the table, so they're not sort of in the performance area with you, and they'll be reading all the other lines. Or sometimes they'll pair you together with somebody else who's auditioning, and so then you'll sort of figure out who that person is when you get there, and you can sort of practice in the hall. So they'll have you sometimes prepare a side ahead of time. Should you memorize that? If you're really familiar with it, maybe even memorized, that's great. The more prepared you are, the better. But we encourage you to keep that side, that paper in your hand, because they might want to redirect you and have you try something different, or you don't want to get lost. You don't want the audition to be about how well you memorized your lines. You want it to be about how well you presented your lines. So even if you're really, really prepared, you want to probably keep that side in your hand. Or they might have you do a cold read, which means when you get there, they'll hand you something to read, and they'll give you a few minutes to step out in the hallway and prepare it, and then come back in. So make bold choices, make strong choices, be prepared to be flexible if they redirect you and want you to try something else. That's the most exciting part of the audition, when they're like, try it again, only this time, and they might give you a different intention. So again, monologues, sides, cold reads, these are all important things to know about when you go to your audition. So good luck, go get that job.